Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into some incredibly fascinating source material centered around one massive, provocative premise, that your energetic frequency literally dictates your physical reality. It's a pretty bold claim, right? But the speaker breaks this concept down using a really structured, step-by-step logic, and we're going to unpack exactly how that works. Let's get right into it.
The source material actually kicks things off with this amazing question. What if you could just Amazon Prime your life's goals? Seriously, think about that. What if you could just hit a button and boom, your biggest desires are delivered straight to you? According to the speaker, by deeply understanding energy, you can skip the grueling wait times of life entirely. You can achieve what they call quantum leaps. It's a super enticing framework. And the speaker insists that these rapid, massive shifts, they are absolutely possible once you get the mechanics down.
So here's our roadmap for this explainer. We'll start by looking at the quantum physics framework, then move into how energy actually dictates reality. From there, we'll cover bypassing your brain's protection mode, expanding your so-called rubber band, and finally, the exact steps for activating your own quantum leap.
Okay, kicking things off with part 1, the quantum physics framework, where we redefine the rules.
The source sets up this whole new framework by completely tossing out traditional scientific rules, starting right here with this textbook definition of quantum physics. Notice that massive emphasis on the last part? The fact that electrons can exist in multiple locations at once? The speaker uses this as a really powerful metaphor. Basically, they're suggesting that if particles can exist in more than one place at the same time, then your current reality and your desired future reality, they aren't actually as far apart as you might think.
And this right here perfectly illustrates the paradigm shift the source is asking us to make. Look, we're all so used to the normal world's definition of time, right? Staring at a calendar, measuring progress in days, months, years. But the speaker argues for a quantum definition of time. In this view, time is just the distance and speed of traveling from point A to point B. It's this total mindset shift. It completely removes the arbitrary countdown clock and focuses 100% on just closing the gap.
Moving into section 2, how energy dictates reality, featuring the mountain and the vault. So, how does this completely new definition of time actually change how we approach our goals? Well, the source introduces this wild concept called the gold vault. Just imagine this massive, energetic storage unit that holds everything your heart desires. Your dream relationship, the perfect income, the ultimate lifestyle. According to the speaker, you don't need a treasure map to find this vault. You are literally the molecular key to it. By dialing up your own energetic frequency, you unlock the vault yourself.
To explain how we normally get this all wrong, the source uses this really great metaphor of a mountain. Traditional effort tells us that to get to the other side, you have to painstakingly hike all the way up, over the peak, and all the way back down. Exhausting, right? But the speaker argues that quantum effort, which is driven by high energy and a really open mind, allows you to see the mountain completely differently. Suddenly, you spot this hidden tunnel. You crawl straight through, and you're on the other side in 20 minutes. The crazy part? The speaker claims that hole was always there. It's just that a low-energy traditional mindset keeps us totally blind to it.
Which brings us to section 3, bypassing brain protection mode to unblock your path.
Okay, so why are we usually so blind to the tunnel? The source explains that our own minds are actually our biggest hurdle here. Look at this contrast. When you're operating with low energy, the source says your mind gets trapped in this survival or protection mode. It's just swimming in all these fearful, limiting beliefs. But high energy, it bypasses that completely. The speaker actually shares this incredible anecdote about a figure skater on social media who managed to learn a super advanced spin in a single day, while other people take months because their brains are screaming that they're going to fall and fail. This skater bypassed all those fearful thoughts by tapping into high energy. They completely crushed the distance from point A to point B.
Now, what's really fascinating here is how the speaker unpacks the brain's tricky behavior. The source claims that your brain will literally invent fears out of thin air just to maintain a familiar identity. Let's say you have an abandonment wound. Your brain might try to convince you that your partner is cheating, when in reality they're literally just stuck late at work. Why? Because your brain actually prefers the familiar pain of anxiety over the scary, unknown feeling of being totally secure and trusting. As the quote says, your mind thinks it's protecting you, but it's actually blocking you.
To drive this point home, the speaker recounts a story about one of their coaching clients. This client really wanted a tall partner, but she kept complaining that her dating apps were only showing her shorter guys. Well, the coach dug in and identified this as a subconscious worthiness block. Her brain was basically protecting her from what she actually wanted.
So the client spent a couple of days doing the inner work to challenge those limiting beliefs. And get this, the next time she opened the app, she says it was instantly populated with tall men. The source uses this exact story to argue that shifting your internal beliefs directly, and I mean immediately, alters what you physically experience in your reality. All right, moving into Section 4, expanding your rubber band and stretching your capacity. So to actually sustain these big energetic shifts, we have to be able to physically and mentally hold on to more of what we desire. And this brings us to the rubber band metaphor. The speaker likens your mind to a brand new rubber band, tight, kind of restrictive. By exposing yourself to new, maybe slightly scary, but expansive experiences, you're gently stretching its capacity. But there's a catch here. If a rubber band is stretched way too fast by something it isn't ready for, think of a sudden massive influx of wealth or stepping into a deeply healthy relationship when you're used to toxicity, it's gonna snap. You'll end up self-sabotaging simply because your internal capacity hasn't been properly expanded yet.
The source gives two really great fitness examples to prove this mind-body connection. First up, holding a plank. Anyone who's ever done a plank knows staring at the clock is absolute torture. The speaker notes that she once held a plank effortlessly for 1.5 minutes because she wasn't paying attention to the time. But the second the instructor yelled out that there were 30 seconds left, all these arbitrary mental rules kicked in, and she felt immediate physical pain. On the flip side, when practicing the splits, she realized her mind had been keeping her right leg super tight for months, purely out of protection. The very moment she consciously released that mental limit, her leg just instantly dropped to the ground. I just absolutely love this piece of tough love from the source material. If you don't like where you are, move. You are not a tree. It's so simple, but the speaker uses this to directly challenge the viewer. Where are you choosing to stay stuck right now? Because if you're sitting in a reality that you dislike, the core message here is that you absolutely have the energetic capacity to get up and move.
Let's head into our final section, Section 5, activating your quantum leap step by step.
So how does all this theory build into an actionable framework? Well, the source gives us these 4 exact steps for activating a quantum leap. Step 1, expand your rubber band through inner work. Step 2, completely get rid of judgment. Step 3, intentionally enter the energetic fields of people already at your desired destination. And Step 4, stop asking how and start asking what if. Let's zoom in on those last couple of steps.
Step 2 involves this really interesting concept called negative capacity. Now, don't let the word negative fool you here. The speaker essentially defines this as emptying your cup. It's your ability to consciously drop all of your own rigid judgments so you can fully step into brand new beliefs and perspectives. The source argues that judgment just locks you in this tiny restrictive box. But by dropping those judgments, you become what the speaker calls a magnetic fridge. You're just so buzzing with open, positive electricity that opportunities and resources literally stick to you from a mile away. And then we get to the crucial point in Step 4. You have to drop the word how. The source explains that constantly asking how forces your current, limited consciousness to try and solve future problems. The speaker gives a great personal example. When she was moving to Dubai, she started panicking about how she was going to buy bowls and kitchen appliances while trying to run a business. But the moment she shifted her mindset to what if, releasing that tight grip of control, she ended up finding her dream apartment, and guess what? It was miraculously fully furnished, right down to the bowls. By simply asking what if, she shifted her energetic frequency from total panic to open possibility. It perfectly proves the core theme here. Your energy absolutely dictates the pathways that open up in your reality.
Which brings us to the end of the explainer, and I want to leave you with this incredibly direct, provocative question straight from the source material. What are you blocking yourself from, and why? Seriously, what is it that you truly desire that you don't currently have? And how might your own mind be acting as the locked door keeping you from it? It's just such a fascinating framework to reflect on. It really challenges us to look closely at our own energetic blocks. Thanks so much for joining me as we unpack this, and remember, keep questioning your own limits.